From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Twin Cities sports scene. And Wally, we're on location this week for 10K Takes Television. We're at the TPC in Blaine, site of the 3M Open, or 3M Open IV, which would be the fourth edition of this golf tournament. If you're into Roman numerals,
well,
like,
be
like
careful.
The Saudis are.
I was going to say, be careful with that IV thing. The folks out here aren't real thrilled with what LIV has done. Of course, the 54 Saudi tournament, which has sucked away several players who have played in this tournament previously, including Dustin Johnson, who was here last year, Brooks Koepka, who's played before. Even Phil Mickelson played in this tournament once, and he, of course, is part of that Saudi 54. So they're battling a fight out here. They really are. There's no question.
It's a real golf war, if you will. IV could also mean you'll need an IV if you don't hydrate out here. I mean, we're talking about some triple-digit heat index numbers, and it's scorching hot. So if you're coming out here, make sure you drink a lot of water.
Yeah, no question. And they've had this. I mean, this has been an issue when you're in mid to late July. It has been an issue for them throughout, but better this than thunderstorms. Look at it that way, because this you can deal with to a certain degree.
Well, and with this kind of heat though, and the atmosphere gets unstable, who knows what we might get? We still could get some superstorms or whatever. Things tend to pop later in the day, so stay tuned on all of that. But I would call this a stereotype busting event. Minnesota, the nation's icebox, right? Not. For anybody coming in here who thinks this is nothing but the frozen tundra, well, no, this is heat, baby.
Yeah, this is Arizona type heat.
It is.
It really is. Phoenix type temperatures, as you mentioned, heat index over 100. We'll see how the golf turns out. I'm curious to see how this whole thing's going to shake out, because look, we're looking at a lot of guys that people aren't familiar with. We do have Cameron Champ back. He was the champion last year, so to speak. Matt Wolff won this thing a few years ago, the very first rendition. Then Michael Thompson. But who's going to win number 4? Will it be a name you've ever heard of before becomes the question.
It could be a newbie who gets on the PGA map by winning this thing. And by the way, if you are the guy who wins this tournament, you'll get $1.35 million. So it's a good payday. That's 18% of the $7.5 million purse. That's about standard on a PGA Tour event. Look, you have some names out here. Tony Finau is out here. Hideki Matsuyama is out here. But it does lack some of the juice as far as star power. I know a year ago, on the Friday of the 3M Open, I tracked Dustin Johnson. I followed him all over the course, and that was a lot of fun because he brings sizzle. Paulina Gretzky, his wife, and everything. He has people flocking around him. Now he's part of Saudi 54, so he's not here. That's another example. But you know what? You keep playing golf, it's an opportunity for other people to get on the map.
Yeah. Well, and they do have some names, as you mentioned. Justin Day is going to be here. Stuart Sink is here. So there are guys that are going to be here. But it's those galleries. It was like, when the senior tour used to come here, and you knew where Arnold Palmer was because the gallery was following him wherever. Or when the PGA Championships were here and you knew where Tiger was because they were following him. Those are the type of galleries that you get when you get a Dustin Johnson here and when you get a Phil Mickelson. So hopefully somebody will emerge and the big names will draw some people in, and the golf fans will come out no matter what.
Well, and look, the 3M Open is not the only event dealing with it. This is the 43rd stop on the PGA Tour in this golfing season that started last December. So they're all dealing with it. It might be the Honda Classic, it might be Jack's tournament in Dublin, Ohio. Obviously, some have more cachet and more history, but nonetheless, they're all dealing with it. And I think one thing, and we'll talk to Mike Welch later in the show, the tournament director, along with Jerry Zgoda from the Minneapolis Star Tribune, who's out here covering the event. But I think they will roll up their sleeves and work even harder and chop more wood to make sure that this is still top flight. Yeah, you're missing some star power, but they'll find a way to still make this a destination event. The good news for 3M is Minnesota Twins are gone. They're in the All-Star break, then they go to Detroit. No competition there, and I believe, are the St. Paul Saints in town?
I don't even know.
Yeah, so
I don't know if that's a factor.
May not be. So, but you may have the stage to yourself in this sports-cluttered market.
It's good and bad because with the All-Star break-in session now for baseball is one less thing that event that they could, send the players to, because part of the deal when they bring players in is to entertain them when they're not playing golf. And going to a Major League Baseball game is one of the things that they won't be able to do.
Yeah,
this year.
I remember last year the LA Angels were here.
Right.
Shohei Ohtani.
Of course.
That was a big deal. Some of the golfers went out to see Shohei.
No question.
So
yeah. I think some of them took BP, as a matter of fact.
Probably.
Yeah,
it is a perk, you're right, but I think as far as competition, you don't really have any.
Yeah. So you mentioned Mike Welch. He's coming up next.
Yeah, so stick around. We are 10K Takes, your 3M Open ticket.
Imagine a public golf course where beginners feel comfortable in learning and where experienced players can test their skills. Well, you don't have to imagine it. You can live it at the Royal Golf Club in Lake Elmo, an 18-hole championship caliber course designed by golfing legends Arnold Palmer and Annika Sorenstam. With 5 tee boxes, bent grass fairways, and generous landing areas, the Royal Golf Club is perfect for golfers of all experience levels. Golfing and Arnie's Restaurant are open to the public, so make your tee times today at RoyalClubMN.com. The Royal Golf Club, a one-of-a-kind golfing experience.
Ooh, look at this.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10,000 takes from the TPC in Blaine, home to the 3M Open, and we are joined now by Mike Welch. He is the tournament director for this week-long extravaganza. I'll say week-long, but I know for you, it's more like year-long. As you put this thing together on a year-by-year basis, so this is your 3rd year as tournament director, what would you say is your biggest hurdle or most difficult thing to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, as I wipe sweat off my brow, you know, sometimes it's the weather. It is 3M Open week, so of course it's 95 degrees and with a little bit of humidity. Obviously, what's happening in the world of golf right now with the other tour presenting some challenges around player field, that's been a little bit of a challenge.
You can say the name of it.
I know I can't. I actually physically can't say it
not
out of
allowed
my mouth. There might be somebody watching me. And then, I think we talked about this last time, Wally. We fight against Minnesota summer weekends, and that's another thing, right? So how do you convince a family to not spend a weekend at the cabin and come to the 3M Open? And hopefully here in our 4th year, we're providing enough opportunities for these families to come here and say, I want to be here because this is just as fun as being at the cabin.
All right, so let's expound on that. If you're marketing the Minnesota Twins, they market to Iowa, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, even parts of Canada. Do you do that? In other words, hey, Iowans, come up, Western Wisconsin, Dakota people, because you don't see tour stuff a lot in those areas. So can you grab that fan base, golf fan base?
It's a smart question. It's an answer that we are probably right now saying not yet, but we need to get there. As a nonprofit, we have a limited budget, so we're trying to be as smart and as thrifty as we can with our marketing dollars. So right now you'll see us really in the 7-county metro, but then I would just tell you we're hoping for the national scope of the PGA Tour to provide some of that awareness and exposure for us. But when you think about our vision board and where we want the 3M Open to be, we certainly would consider ourselves a regional tournament. The Dakotas, Wisconsin, obviously there is a tournament in Iowa and the Quad Cities, but Nebraska, I mean, there is such an ample amount of space and opportunity for us. So we do think that 2-3 years from now, we'll be a regional tournament.
When you set this thing up, you're trying to, and you just mentioned it, trying to lure people away from going to their cabin or whatever it is they might be doing. I noticed that you threw in a mini golf course this year, 6 holes that replicate some of the holes here. Yeah. That's a great idea, I think. What types of things along with that, and maybe you can even expound on that, are you doing?
Yeah, boy, it's plentiful. You mentioned the mini holes. So we have a new partnership with 3M Consumer Division this year. So the products you know and love, Post-it, Filtree, Command, all of that. And so we built 6 holes out of all of those products. You'll walk around Fan Village here and you'll see a number of those same type of activations. But we think about, again, it's Minnesota. What do Minnesotans love to do? They love to go to the cabin. They love to fish. They love to hunt. So we're talking about on holes 14 and 17, and here behind us in 18, how do we get pontoon boats and actually have fishing competitions on days like today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when competition isn't going on the course? How do we make this more than a golf tournament? How do we make it so Minnesota? So, and you guys can explain better than me, right? It's fishing, it's hunting, it's cabins, it's leisure. We want to bring that, and so we think that we're doing that. Have a little bit of ways to go, but bringing those same type of activations here to the course.
And I know you also have to be hyper-focused on the weather as far as safety. So with the heat, there's hydration. I walked by a hydration station, I refilled. So I know you can do that here without having to fork out more money to buy more water. Bring a water bottle, right? But as we've seen in past tournaments, the PGA, I think in '92, you get lightning and you get the thunderstorms that roll through. You have to have a weather preparation plan, don't you?
We've had 3 evacuation meetings in the last 4 days just to prepare just for that. So the PGA Tour does a phenomenal job on their level alerts, if you will, right? So there's 3 levels before we actually get to going into our structures and letting fans know that they have to evacuate. So there's different codes. So, you know, you'll see along the course, there's evacuation bans for the players and their caddies. We have an entire plan for all of the fans that come here, both in corporate hospitality. But we do spend about 357 days out of the year preparing for that plan. It's a little daunting when you think about trying to plan a week-long event that really depends on God and the weather for those 7 days. But it also makes it fun.
Things you can't control.
Things you can't control.
Well, something else you can't control, what Hollis Cavender thinks about that other tournament.
Yeah.
I know that Hollis works hard to get players here. How difficult is it to get guys here? Because there's going to be a lot of names that people don't recognize playing in this tournament this year.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you certainly have the Open Championship right before ours. That is a hurdle because you're, 6 hours time difference. I think most fans know, maybe they don't, that we have a charter plane that is waiting for those players. When they were done at St. Andrews, they took a shuttle to the airport, and there was a charter plane that flew them, the MSP, that arrived at 11:30 last night. That is about as accommodable as you can be in the world of sports, right? So we have those challenges that we're trying to overcome. The other golf tour, I almost said it, the other golf tour is a challenge as well. I've said this for the last 3 weeks. In any sport, the names and the faces always change. They're just not changing as rapidly right now as they are in our world of golf. What we're encouraged by is that the depth and quality of golfer right now on the Korn Ferry Tour and the Canadian PGA Tour and the ASEAN Tour, that we have a sponsor exemption from the ASEAN Tour here this week, Mo Lim, has never been better. And so it's just going to take a little bit for these fans to understand who these players are. I'll remind everybody that in 2018, the Korn Ferry Tour Player of the Year was Sungjae Im. In 2019, it was Scotty Scheffler. That's just 3 and 4 years ago. So who is that next level of player that now could be the number 1 player in the world just 4 years later, like Scotty Scheffler is right now? So you're going to see Davis Riley. You're going to see Sawith Thigala. You're going to see a number of folks that are of that same ilk that are having incredible years, that maybe if they go win this golf tournament, it's going to propel their career like it did for Matthew Wolff in 2019 and Colin Morikawa, who finished 2nd, and Victor Hovland, who finished 5th. So we feel that our tournament lends itself to that next star of the PGA Tour.
As we know, the bar is up in the clouds when it comes to Minnesota hosting major events, Super Bowls, Final Fours, Ryder Cups, PGA Championships, US Open. All these major events have usually gone off without a hitch. Do you feel like, hey, every year we gotta hit it because Minnesota has a national reputation of throwing a big party?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, we talk about this 3M Open Vision Board that we have, and at one point we had, how do we become the Waste Management Phoenix Open of the North?
Yeah.
If you've been to that tournament, you quickly cross that off the list, right? It's just, there's not going to be another tournament like that. It's just so unique. But how do we become another staple tournament? So like Jack's tournament, the Memorial, is a staple tournament, right? The Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill is another staple. We have to remember that those tournaments have 40 to 50 years of equity built into that. So year over year, it's how do we get a few % better year over year in our fan experience, in our experience for our players and our caddies and their families. One thing I think that Pro Links and Hollis and our entire company does better than any other tournament is provide an experience for the players, their families, and their caddies. We want these folks, when they leave TPC Twin Cities in that clubhouse, to say, what an awesome time that we had as a family. We have events lined up for them every single night. We have daycare provided and do great things for them. how do we eliminate as many variables as we can, those obstacles that you mentioned earlier? How do we eliminate most of those and really lay it all out on the line for just the golf course and the ability to win this tournament? So we feel like we're getting there. It's not going to be built overnight. We feel like we've been doing that since 2019, and we feel like it's going to continue to go that trajectory.
All right, last question for you. If I'm a fan and I'm thinking about coming out to 3M this week, tell me where I should look, something I should not miss if I come to the 3M.
Yeah, we're sitting in Fan Village, which is the artery of the 3M Open. So you'll get incredible food and beverage. You'll get incredible sponsor activation. You'll get just an awesome time for the family. Just then down in North Woods, which is over here off of Golfers Left on 18 Green, we have most of our food and beverage partners. We have huge 200-foot trees that'll provide shade, which will probably be very key this week. And so those two areas are the areas that you can't miss. And then I would say there's areas on the front nine, on holes 4 and 7, holes 8, that provide some really great opportunities to watch golf. And then again on hole 14, where you can sit off to golfer's right under some shade trees, but then also see 17 green. You're going to see 2 incredible holes there. So if you're a fan of watching golf, that's what you want. If you're a fan of food and beverage, we have that fan journey. We have 5 different fan journeys that when you come to 3M Open, you scan with your QR code, and it'll bring up each one of those fan journeys, and you can hit those 4 or 5 spots. So again, we try to eliminate just the thinking and come out to the 3M Open and have the time of your life.
Great. Well, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you spending some time with us. Good luck this week. I know it's a busy week for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Hydrate.
Yep, thank you,
Yes,
guys.
hydrate.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Hydrate.
Yeah.
All right, he is Mike Welch. He is the tournament director here at the 3M Open. We'll have more here from the 3M right after this timeout. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Look at this.
Imagine a public golf course where beginners feel comfortable in learning and where experienced players can test their skills. Well, you don't have to imagine it. You can live it at the Royal Golf Club in Lake Elmo, an 18-hole championship caliber course designed by golfing legends Arnold Palmer and Annika Sorenstam. With 5 tee boxes, bent grass fairways, and generous landing areas, the Royal Golf Club is perfect for golfers of all experience levels. Golfing and Arnie's Restaurant are open to the public, so make your tee times today at RoyalClubMN.com. The Royal Golf Club, a one-of-a-kind golfing experience.
Welcome back from the TPC in Blaine, the 3M Open going on this week, and we are pleased to be joined now by Jerry Zgoda, Star Tribune, multi-beat writer. I was going to say 3M golf beat writer.
Minnesota United, former Timberwolves. People might remember if they were around for 18 years when they were losing.
And you,
North Stars before that, if I really want to date
that's
myself.
right. Well, you and I were covering North Stars back in the day, and of course, the Minnesota Timberwolves made the playoffs at least one time in your 18 years, right?
Yes, they did. And I kept waiting for them to get better, and still kind of waiting, but we'll see what happens with this big Rudy Gobert trade.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk some golf. You've been out here now. This is your 4th season covering the 4th 3M tournament. Obviously, the biggest change is the names, right? Because of the LIV?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, that just has impact. Guys who had been here before, not every year, but, Dustin Johnson had played here a couple times. Brooks Koepka, Phil had been here one year.
Right.
So they had some guys who had some names. They didn't have the strongest fields from top to bottom, but they had guys, they still do, but that really has impacted, all these events that aren't the majors. It's a new world for them, and we'll see how it plays out the next year or two, but it certainly has impacted the fields and who they could get, and now you're talking the top guys of major championship winners, but Stewart Cink, Matsuyama, Jason Day, but not that depth through it. A lot of guys, you see probably a lot of guys in the neighborhood on the leaderboard. You'll have to go and look at your PGA guide to see who they are.
Yes, a non-printed PGA guide, by the way. It's all digital.
Yeah.
Okay, so the purse is $7.5 million. The winner gets $1.35 million. From the golfer's perspective, how attractive is the 3M Open? Do you want to be here if you can?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you need the money. The problem is they've had the last couple of years is, it's right after the British Open. So they charter a plane, they get them on the plane last night, they get them here to make it easier. But still, it's, I think, a harder sell for guys because most of them have played the week before in the Scottish Open, or they played in Ireland, so they're playing, 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And to get them to come here, for another one, that's a little tricky, especially, when you take 24, 25 guys off the list at the top because they're playing for the new Saudi back league. So
isn't that cool to see all the private jets coming into Blaine Airport? Cheryl Reeve would be jealous, wouldn't she?
She'd be really mad about it, I think. Yeah, it's sort of like being in when I used to cover the Wolves. I'd fly to Memphis at night for a game the next day. 10:30 leaving the airport, and you just see light after light after light. And it was all the FedEx planes coming through. There's just like dozens and dozens of them. And that's the way I guess it probably used to be, back here when Arnold would fly his jet in and dip the wings when he was leaving and fly out.
Well, one of the attractions, and I talked to Mike Welch, the tournament director, about this previously, for the guys would be to maybe go to a Twins game. They do different things for them during the week. Well, with Major League Baseball being pushed back a couple of weeks this year, that's off the board because it's All-Star Week, so they don't have that advantage either this year. Well,
they try to do like guys who they've tried to make this a family event. Bring your guys. Like when Oosthuizen was playing here, I think he brought his his big bus, his tour bus, because he didn't like to fly. So guys like that, they try to bring their families, go to the Mall of America, do barbecues, do stuff like that, try to make it a family thing so the next year they remember and come back.
We haven't had a lot of rain recently in the Twin Cities. We've got this scorching triple-digit heat. Do you think the course is going to play fast? It looks dry to me.
Yeah, it probably should. If you want an example, like the British played the last 4 days, but I think guys, it's sort of the equalizer. It certainly equalizes length because if it's dry and fast, the ball's going to run forever. You found that out at St. Andrews. So. I guess it all depends what your game is, but I think they like it to play fast.
What you know of the players that are here, is there a favorite?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, you look at the big name guys, but they really haven't done too well. I mean, the first year you had Matthew Wolff, and then you had Michael Thompson, and then last year you had Cameron Champ. So. The odds are it'll probably be a name you're not really familiar with just because the field is kind of tilted that way, but I'm sure House would like nothing better than to have Jason Day or Matsuyama or somebody with real name recognition win it and then bring them back next year to promo the 2023 event.
Yeah. The elephant in the room is Saudi 54. From your perspective, what's that done to really shake up golf, and does that have sustainability?
Well, I guess when you got billions and billions, but the question is, what's their attention span? How long will they be interested in it, and at what point does it not serve their purposes anymore? And then what happens with these guys who, some guys thought, I think they could go play on it, and they just come back and play it on the PGA Tour. And does the Justice Department get involved with anti-competitive rulings and that kind of stuff? I mean, they've tried that before and it didn't work, but the world changes, so it certainly has changed the landscape in a hurry.
The hot weather, how badly do you think that golf fans are going to want to be out here at the TPC despite the hot weather?
Well, you look for the groves of trees, the places where you can get some shade, and a lot of people come out here and spend the whole day in the tent. So, but otherwise, I don't know if they let you bring it in. I always used to bring like a little umbrella when it was days like this, just to keep the sun off your head, because it's going to be a scorcher. The cool day is going to be 89 degrees.
Yeah, and it's more like a links course too, isn't it? Because there aren't that many trees.
Yeah, well, the people say that links is a different sort of thing, but yeah, it certainly is treeless in a lot of places. So
the sunbrella. All right, you just got back from the UK. Tell us about the concert you saw in London.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
You're gonna call me out, yeah?
Yeah, I'm gonna dime you out right now.
Yeah, they call it British Summertime that they had. The weekend after I left, they had Adele in there, 70,000 people for 2 nights. But the weekend I went there, Adele's not quite my pace. Elton on Friday night, Stones on Saturday night, Eagles on Sunday night.
I didn't get much better than that.
No, you had to stand for 8 hours a day just to get your spot because it was all standing only. But just the amount of energy and spirit in a crowd like that, especially after all the COVID, I don't know what kind of spreader event it might have been because people were chest to chest and
sure
shoulder to shoulder, but it was It was something I'll remember all my life. I went to a thing in the desert they had where Coachella is.
Coachella Valley, yeah.
But they did it for the old time guys maybe 5-6 years ago, where it was Dylan and Dylan and the Stones on the first night. Second night was Paul McCartney and Neil Young, and third night was The Who and Roger Waters.
Wow.
So
quite the lineup.
Yep.
Probably more recognizable names than we'll have here out at the TPC.
But I think they're having a concert here, aren't they?
I think they might be. We should have some good golf, though. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.
He is Jerry Zgoda, Star Tribune beat writer. He'll be out here all week long, covering the 3M tournament. Back with more here on 10,000 Takes after this timeout. Stay with us.
Look at this.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Imagine a public golf course where beginners feel comfortable in learning and where experienced players can test their skills. Well, you don't have to imagine it. You can live it at the Royal Golf Club in Lake Elmo, an 18-hole championship caliber course designed by golfing legends Arnold Palmer and Annika Sorenstam. With 5 tee boxes, bent grass fairways, and generous landing areas, the Royal Golf Club is perfect for golfers of all experience levels. Golfing and Arnie's Restaurant are open to the public, so make your tee times today at RoyalClubMN.com. The Royal Golf Club, a one-of-a-kind golfing experience.
Another episode of 10K Takes Television. We're on location at the TPC in Blaine, 3M Open. Wally and Eric with you. And get ready for some hot takes, literally, because the heat is on.
Yeah, and the mood meter broke down in the heat.
It doesn't handle heat well.
It does not handle heat well. Well, my take of the day is actually baseball related. Your Minnesota Twins at the All-Star break, currently in first place. All right, let's not forget this, Falvey and Levine. Let's go out and get some help before the trade deadline, which is in early August. Look, you're in first place. You have a 2-game lead over Cleveland, a 3-game lead over the White Sox. Let's not pretend that you didn't intend on winning this year. You spent $35 million on Carlos Correa. That's one season, $35 million. And heck, he may take you up on taking year 2 of that too. So if you're going to spend $35 million on one player, you darn well better go out and get some pitching for the second half of the season. LIV did it. They drew in some players. You could draw in some players. Pay it out. Get the guys here to win this thing.
And the mood meter says, get this guy some water. He's near heat stroke.
Red hot.
He's sizzling. So, yeah, well, let's hope the Twins take your advice and add to this team that definitely has a chance to do some special things.
For sure.
All right, well, my take of the day is the MLB All-Star Game is Tuesday night at Dodger Stadium. And let's celebrate that for a moment. First time they've played a game in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium, the Midsummer Classic, since 1980. But the name is still Dodger Stadium. How often can you say that? That was what it was called back in the 1962 season when Dodger Stadium broke onto the MLB scene. It's still the same name. In this era of corporate greed and grab, it's still Dodger Stadium. I love it. Look, it's an older ballpark, third oldest in MLB. Old bones, we all know that, but it's aged well. It's aged like a Hollywood actress. It's had a makeover or two, it's had a little Botox, but Dodger Stadium plays well on television. Can't wait to see the All-Star Game.
Fenway, Wrigley, Yankee Stadium, and Dodger Stadium, the only ones I could think of.
You're exactly right. So, and Byron Buxton and Luis Ariz are there, and they've got stars on the Walk of Fame, so good for them. All right, on that note, we got to go. FedEx some thank yous out to our great crew behind the scenes here in Blaine, also to Mike Welch, Jerry Zgoda, Rocky. For Wally, I'm Eric saying this is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.